I'll never forget the summer when I was 10 years old and made a trip to visit some family in New England, and one of my relatives had a brand new Macintosh SE that I got to play with for the first time. And let me just tell you, I was blown away by it. The capabilities, the graphics, the sounds, everything about it. Well, I haven't played with a Macintosh probably in 30 years, so today it's time for the return of the Mac on Vintage Geek. I'm Aaron, welcome to Vintage Geek. If you like vintage technology and discussions about it, be sure to like and subscribe. It's going to help us a lot as we grow the channel. This is the Macintosh SE. This is a few versions into the Macintosh product line, and obviously their earlier versions were equally important, but this one has some special sentimentality to me because it is the first Macintosh that I ever used. It's also the first Macintosh that came with an internal hard drive bay, which made it a lot more capable in doing certain things. Much like its predecessors, it has a small black and white monitor or screen, and it has a pretty good pixel depth and good resolution because of that black and white configuration rather than trying to do color. It also has this kind of all-in-one case design, so it's not using a separate CPU and a monitor, it's all in one unit, and it's very compact. It fits in a small amount of desktop space, which is certainly convenient. You've got technically two drive bays in the front. One of these is the main floppy drive. The other one could be a second floppy drive, or as I mentioned, you could actually have the hard drive installed, which this one actually has a 20 megabyte SCSI hard drive installed in it. And there were various different configurations of that, but ultimately this one has the ideal configuration for me, one floppy and one hard drive. So on the case itself, you've got the Apple logo prominently in front, the Macintosh SE branding. Really not a whole lot to it. It's simple in design, but it looks stylish, especially for the time. It's got the information tag on the back that tells you a little bit more about this particular model. This one does have 1 megabyte of RAM in it, as well as the 20 megabyte hard drive. You've got a complement of ports on the back in addition to the power connector and the power switch. Most importantly, the connectors here are for the ADB, or Apple Data Bus. This allowed it to be used with standard peripheral keyboards and mice, and this was something that they pulled over from the Apple II GS, as I understand it. You also have a port for a second external floppy drive, similar to other Apple models, and you've got a printer port, and you've got a modem port over here for being able to do some outside connectivity and telephoning. And then you also have an external speaker port, so if you wanted to connect this to some kind of external speaker or amplifier, you could certainly do so, or maybe even a set of headphones. One of the things that Macintosh was pretty good about was their sound capabilities, and especially their ability to create lifelike speech. In some of their very early demos of Macintosh, that was one of the things that really blew people away, and I remember being impressed by it as well.
Today, for the first time ever, I'd like to let Macintosh speak for itself.
Hello, I am Macintosh.
There is a kind of carrying handle on the top of this, which makes it easier to transport and move around. It wasn't designed to be a portable computer per se, but it wouldn't be that hard to travel with it if you were going to some stationary location. Taking a look at the keyboard and mouse for the Macintosh SE, as I mentioned, this was the first Macintosh, I believe, to be able to use the Apple Data Bus, so it used the standard connector type that is on most of the mice and keyboards seen after this point, and they plug directly into the back of the unit. The mouse itself is a ball-type mouse. This would be similar to other mice that Apple used with the II GS and so forth. Single-button mouse. It has pretty good movement, and this one is not in the best of shape, but it's still very functional. It has a nice feel to it overall, certainly more refined than some of the early mice we've seen for even the Tandy computers and some of the others. The keyboard is a relatively nice design, got full motion keys, but these feel a little bit less clicky, like the IBM style, and a little bit more like modern keyboards, I guess would be the best way to describe it. It still has a lockable caps lock key that actually physically locks down. You've got the rest of the standard keys here. It's got a full number pad over here on the right-hand side, and everything else is pretty standard. The little notches that kind of align your fingers to the keyboard are actually, I believe, in different spots. They're on the D and the K. Still not a big deal, you just kind of get used to it. All the keys feel pretty good on this keyboard. It's not perfectly clean. The whole system has a little bit of yellowing to it, but overall it's in good shape and it is fully functional. I'm really excited to get into this and try our Mac SE. One of the things that I remember very distinctly from trying one of these for the first time when I was a kid was the Macintosh sound that happens when you first boot up the computer. So I'm looking for a little bit of nostalgia here as I turn this on for the first time. Ah yes, there it is. A Macintosh beep. I don't remember how long the actual boot time took on these. Probably a little bit of time. It's still an early Macintosh. We've got a cursor, and we've got the smiley face Macintosh ready to greet us and start with some computer fun. I like this so far. And there you have it. We've got our Mac SE all booted up and ready to go. Let's try some software. By default, I believe you got a bundle with the Macintosh that came with software like Mac Draw, Mac Write, Mac Paint, and a lot of those programs already came with the Mac SE that we have on hand and really show off some of the capabilities of these early Macintosh machines. So let's dig into this a little bit and see what some of these programs look like. If we look at the drive here, there's a Mac Paint folder, so let's start with that. So it looks like we've got a blank palette here. I do love the way everything moves in the Macintosh. The mouse movement's a little bit slow for my style. I did change the mouse pace right away to be the fastest it could go because it just seems to be a little bit slow. We got the pencil by default, so let's see if we can draw a line here. Okay, that's pretty basic. I'm not great at drawing straight lines, in case you didn't realize. What else do we have here in the menus that we can mess with? Goodies, I like goodies. Okay, so you can zoom in and out in the picture. Looks like they've got several keyboard shortcuts here. So we've got various styles for text. All this stuff seems pretty common now, but when you think about the fact that this was, late 80s, early 90s when Macintosh was coming into prominence, gives you a lot more tools at that time than you had with other software. We've got a lot of different brush shapes here. Let's put some text on the screen here. And then let's draw a square. So I've got my square on the screen, I've got a little bit of text. I can try to freestyle the logo. This is probably not going to go too well, but let's give it a try anyway. Freestyle with the Macintosh mouse is very challenging. That's probably about as good as it's going to get, but it's neat that you can do these different things. Let's just try filling this in with something. I love all the different patterns of things they have here built for the monochrome display. Yeah, see, we've got a bunch of polka dots in the background of our Vintage Geek logo. Pretty standard paint program by today's standards, but well ahead of its time. Let's see what else we have in the built-in applications. Interestingly, a lot of these files have a 1904 modified date. I think it's because the person that had this must have put files on the machine, obviously in more recent years. The Mac SE, as far as I'm aware, is not Y2K compliant. So basically when that clock rolled over after 1999, went back to 1901. So that's why we're seeing these dates like this. And there's also Mac Draw. I'm not sure what the difference is between Mac Draw and Mac Paint. Let's take a quick look. Interesting. Now this looks a little bit more like what I'm used to, seeing the toolbar on the left. You've got your different shapes. Oh, so this one's got like a polygon tool. So if you wanted to click, drag, just keep making a shape. I want to put a square underneath this. Let's draw ourselves a door. Looks like there's a few more options in Mac Draw than you may not have with Paint. Looks pretty good. Looks like this one has a few more patterns. This looks kind of roof-like. Oh, nice. Now it looks like a real roof. The funny thing about Mac Draw and Mac Paint is that they feel so familiar. Everything in these programs is something we've seen since, and a lot of the techniques in painting and drawing programs are still used today. I don't feel at all uncomfortable using this program because it just feels like things that are modern, and that's a testament to Macintosh and some of the early development that they did with the system. Last but not least, for the built-in software that came with this particular Macintosh, let's see what Mac Concentration is like. It's one of the games that was on this. All right. I know I saw that TV somewhere else. Here it is. So a pretty basic concentration game, but it looks good. It's fast. I love the fact that, even this ice cream cone has a shadow. Little details like that are really kind of neat to see. So far, I'm pretty impressed with the offering of the Mac SE. When it comes to the boxed software that we have for the Macintosh, we've got a few different selections here at the museum. One piece that we have is a game called Taskmaker. Now, according to the box, the world has plunged into depression and devastation. The once mighty kingdom is no longer. You must restore order and prosperity to the kingdom, but you have no experience. To gain help, find the Taskmaker. With his guidance and your courage, the kingdom might be saved. They're very clear on this packaging we have. This was a demo copy, not for resale. So we'll be sure not to resell it. I like the load screen.
Taskmaker.
Sweet. It appears that someone has used this software before. There are some characters stored on here. Xavier, Mitch, and Theodore Logan.
Bill S. Preston, Esquire, and Ted Theodore Logan.
What?
We'll try to load one of these. Let's see what Xavier looks like here. Well, I'm not sure what's happening here, but it looks like there's a lot of fire. I'm assuming that's fire. All right, so you just click to move around. Looks like I'm guessing low on food. This looks like there's some different bars here that show you different things that are going on. You've got food, health, spirit, strength, agility, intellect, and stamina. It says that I'm starving. How do I get food? I don't own anything. Great. I don't think Xavier's doing too well here. He doesn't have anything in his inventory. Oh no, I got burned by the fire. Can you move with the arrows as well? Oh, you can. Okay. That's actually a little easier. It appears that everything has stopped. feels like the system locked up. Well, it looks like we're probably gonna have to do a reboot here, but interesting game, and graphically it looks fantastic. The text looks good. I love the different fonts they've used on the left here, all of the different progress bars for your different attributes. The map looks pretty good, and it's pretty impressive overall, just compared to computers of the time. It's a pretty cool looking game. I'd like to spend a little bit more time with this at some point. Next up, we have a piece of software that I have no familiarity with, but it looks interesting. It's called SuperCard, the personal software toolkit for making real Macintosh applications that are customized for your needs. It provides the tools for creating all the standard pieces that make up a Macintosh interface. It also provides a complete environment for easily composing those pieces to create a fully functional program of your own design. I am curious to see what this can do, and I'm hoping it has a little tutorial in it. I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't want to spend a lot of time just trying to figure out the basics. For a guided tour, use Part 2 tutorial and follow the instructions. That sounds great, because I have no idea what this software does or how it works. Imagine you are the proprietor of a rapidly growing gadget company, Ramblin' Ruth's Gadget Shop. After a dozen years of operating your business from the sanctity of your own garage, you have outgrown your corporate home. The solution is obvious. It's time to expand. Begin by bringing your HyperCard-based gadget catalog into SuperCard. The rest is up to you. Tutorial files, gadget catalog. They talk a lot in this about HyperCard, which I understand is basically something built into Macintosh anyway. It's a way to do presentation type things, kind of the early version of PowerPoint. When the next dialog box appears, type in Ramblin' Ruth as the name of your new SuperCard project. It's interesting that they let you put an apostrophe in an actual project name. Again, an example of how Macintosh was trying to be user-friendly. I like the little pie chart progress going on. That's pretty cool. Ooh. Ramblin' Ruth's Glorious Gadgetry Official 1989 Catalog. After 12 history-making years, Ramblin' Ruth still sells the coolest and most useful gadgets in the galaxy. So we're going to go to the Windows menu, look at Project Ramblin' Ruth. It's the overview window. So we select the window by clicking on its name, and there are these 4 checked boxes. Oh, these tell you what kind of window you're creating. So you can give it a close box, a zoom box, it can be resizable, and you can drag it. What about window size? Make the window a little bit smaller. Okay, 512, 42. Oh, so it's just going to position the window 38 pixels from the top. That's cool. Click OK, and then click OK again. All right, let's go ahead and save this. Okay, so now I should be able to actually run the program that we've created, which is Ramblin' Ruth, showing right here. That's great. And now we've got the initial screen here. That's looking great. What once was a HyperCard stack is now a window in a SuperCard project. The card showing in the window still has the buttons it had when it was in a HyperCard stack. Now the project also has some things it didn't have before, like this title bar. It says catalog. Now obviously I have only scratched the surface in the beginning of this tutorial, but I will say that there seems to be a ton of potential, and I'm pretty glad we have this piece of software because I'm anxious to play around with it some more. But not today, because I don't have quite that amount of time. One of the largest by far physical boxes of software we have in the Vintage Geek Museum goes to this piece of software we're going to try for the Macintosh today, MacroMind Director. This was one of the first versions of what is now known as Adobe Director for animation, graphic presentations, and so forth. The reason this box itself is so large is because it does have 9 discs inside it, as well as a whole library of manuals on how to use the software. This is one of those software packages that is far too intense for us to cover in any kind of depth, but I want to take a look and see what their demo looks like, see what kind of functions you could do with a Macintosh SE and this software called MacroMind. First, we're going to open up the MacroMind player. Welcome to the MacroMind demonstration disk. So click the mouse to begin. Oh, we got some music. MacroMind Director 2.0, the guided tour. All right, so we've got a main menu here. Let's go straight to Overview. This is Overview. In Overview, you can easily create multimedia presentations by linking together different kinds of documents and view them as a slideshow. This is the Overview window. In it, documents such as Mac Paint, etc. are represented by their icons. So you got a lot of different things you can do with standard files that may already live on your Mac. Create a presentation, begin by dragging a picked icon into the Overview window. And it looks like they're importing a file called Face. Next, let's add an animated headline by dragging an Auto Animate icon beneath the picked icon. We use Auto Animate to create instant animations. There are 6 different categories of auto animations to choose from. Oh, okay, so you can type in your text here, you can do different font sizes, automatically takes the text you entered, scrolls it across the screen. Clicking on the stage repositions the headline. Oh, okay, so you can tell it where you want it to animate. That's pretty cool. Now let's add a Mac Paint document to our presentation by dragging out a paint icon, Regional Pie. Not sure what that is, but anxious to find out. And then we got a little pie chart. Well, no wonder she's Salesperson of the Year. She had 35%. You may enhance a presentation by adding transitions, timers, and sounds. Yep, very much like PowerPoint. Oh, I see. So you can change the order by dragging things around. You have now created an overview presentation. The overview window lets you link together standard Macintosh documents into a multimedia presentation. Seems pretty powerful so far. This is Studio, where you create scenes, text, and graphics that move. When you import information, it's automatically put into the cast. It's a multimedia database which contains the different media types that make up a scene: text, graphics, film loops, sounds, and custom color palettes. You can also create your own cast members. To create text, just select the text tool in the tool window. You can import graphic cast members, but you can also create them within MacroMind Director's paint window. So it has its own paint program as well. That's pretty cool. Looks pretty much the same as Mac Paint that we saw earlier. We'll do a simple filled shape, okay. Nice gradient. Now we can use the panel window to create a simple sequence with the triangle. All right, what kind of sequence are we going to do with that triangle? By keeping the text and its graphic image stationary, and by repositioning the triangle in each frame, the triangle appears to move. That makes sense, simple animation. When you finish the sequence, click the play button to see the entire scene. Nice. Triangle keeps falling in an infinite loop. Only the triangle moves in this scene. Director allows you to move up to 24 objects at the same time. You can use the auto transform command in the paint window as well. So basically, it rotates the image and it makes as many slides with the different rotations as you want. So you could potentially just pop those into the screen to create the animation. Pretty clever. I like what they did there. They certainly cut out some steps. Now let's select all the transformed cast members and choose Cast to Time from the Cast menu. And it created the sequence automatically. I don't know who Linda Davis is, but they're really showing her a lot of love in this tutorial. Well, that's all the time we have to spend on the tutorial today. I think there's even more to it than this, but what I've seen so far is super impressive. For an early Macintosh application, this really looks good, and I'm glad we have it in the Vintage Geek Museum. Having had my first experience with a Macintosh SE for probably 20 years at least, I have to say that I am still impressed with the system itself, its capabilities, just how everything looks in general. Everything looks really great with the Mac SE, and I'm really glad that we had a chance to play with it a little bit today. As always, if you like what we're doing here on Vintage Geek, be sure to like and subscribe. It's going to help us a lot as we grow. And if you want to grab a great t-shirt like the one I'm wearing today, or a great coffee mug or other gift ideas, be sure to check out the merch store in the link below. Until next time, I'm Aaron, and this has been Vintage Geek.